Hi, this is Jenyfer and welcome to a video on how to write an excellent introduction. This is one of the videos in part of a series that will focus on essay writing and how to write a good academic essay for your university assessment. Before you even start writing the essay, you should have a look at the rubric or the marking criteria. This will ensure that you're on track with the marking rubric, and secondly, it's always a good idea to break down the rubric or marking criteria to make sure that you are on track with what the assessor wants. So let's go through this example criteria. In criteria 1, there's an expectation that the student will show a critical discussion of pathophysiology of Parkinson's disease and pertain it to the case study. So, what does this mean? This means that first you would look at the critical discussion of pathophysiology of Parkinson's disease in your essay and also link it to the signs and symptoms exhibited by the patient in the case study. Criteria 2 asks you to critically analyze a range of assessment techniques for Mr. Drew, who is the patient in the case study, and analyze the findings. Analyzing something means to find the main ideas, how they're related, and why are they important. You can also think of analyzing as a way of breaking down complex information and seeking the meaning behind them. The next criteria asks you to explain the pharmacodynamics. The word explain usually has a cause and effect concept, so we'll go through this in more detail in the essay. And the last criteria obviously expects the student to follow the structure of an academic essay, presentation, grammar, and spelling. So here I've attached an example of an introduction paragraph, and I'll go through each line by line so you understand what is expected of you in an introduction. Parkinson's disease, and I've abbreviated it to PD, which I can then use again later on in the essay, is a chronic neurodegenerative disorder. This essay examines the case study of Mr. Patrick Drew, a Parkinson's disease patient. Excellent. So straight away, I'm linking it to the case study. Knowledge of the disease process and understanding the pharmacodynamics is imperative for the registered nurse to ensure safe care and management. So see how this sentence is it's a linking sentence. So it's linking between the case study and the patient and the disease, as well as the role of the registered nurse. So I'm kind of using this sentence as my thesis sentence. So this is what I believe about the topic of Parkinson's disease and why it's important for registered nurses to understand this disease. Then moving on, the essay will discuss the pathophysiology of Parkinson's disease and how it relates to Mr. Drew. A critical analysis of a range of various assessment tools, scales, and tests will also be undertaken. Finally, the essay explains the pharmacological treatment options for Parkinson's disease. So see how here, and I'll use my pointer tool, see how here the essay will discuss the pathophysiology. I'm linking it directly to the rubric, marking criteria. So the marking criteria outline that you need to discuss the pathophysiology of Parkinson's disease, and I've used that very same wording here, discuss the pathophysiology. And then I've related here that I've definitely that in my essay in the body paragraph, I will relate it to Mr. Drew. So already when the marker reads this, they're like tick, 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 tick. So tick for discussing the pathophysiology and tick for linking it to Mr. Drew. And then the next part is a critical analysis of a range of various assessment, tick. And then finally, the essay explains the pharmacological treatment options for Parkinson's disease. So this is an ideal essay introduction paragraph because it very concisely sums up everything and outlines everything that will be discussed in the essay. So see how it's very simple and it's very easy to follow and the structure is very clear. So how to write a great introduction? It's important that you write a very good introduction because it makes a lasting impression on your assessor. So when the person who's reading your essay and marking your essay reads your introduction, they can see that it's written by you first of all, and that you have an understanding of what the rubric requires. Okay, so this is where it makes a big difference. And I know there are, AI tools that you can use to kind of structure your essay or write your essay for you, but it'll be very, very obvious to my myself or to the assessor who's marking the essay that this is not written by a student, it's written by some kind of artificial intelligence. So in order to avoid any kind of plagiarism or academic integrity issues in your essay, it's really important that you write a great introduction. So in your essay, first thing, state your thesis statement. And as I showed in the previous slide, your thesis statement kind of sums up in one statement or in one sentence what you believe about the topic. Okay, and what your role is in that topic. So it's good to kind of have a one sentence that makes it very clear to the marker what you believe about this issue or about this case study or whatever it is. Okay, and then introduce your main concepts. So you saw in the previous slide as well, like how I talked about, pathophysiology, critical analysis of the assessment tools, and then also pharmacological treatment options for Parkinson's disease. And this is just an outline. I haven't gone into detail. It's just an outline. And then moving forward, in your last sentence, ideally what you should do to get the top marks, so for your high distinction, is to wrap up with an overarching sentence. Okay, and ideally your paragraph should be between 6 to 8 sentences long. This is just a rough guideline. Obviously everyone is different. Some students can fit it into 5 sentences, some students can fit it into 6 sentences, but ideally it should be no longer than 8 sentences long. 8 in itself is a bit long, but if you've got a 2,500 word essay, that's justifiable. This next point is really important to take note because a lot of students tend to have in-text citations in their introduction. And this is a bit contentious. If you've got statistics that you definitely need to include in your introduction, that you cannot leave the statistics out, then that's fine. Okay, but basically when you write an introduction paragraph, it's introducing the assessor or the reader to the main points in the essay. So it should not have any kind of referencing. Okay, it should all be your own words because it's an outline of what's expected in the body paragraphs, and you should not really have any evidence or complicated definitions that you need to reference in your introduction. So I really encourage students to keep their introduction paragraph simple. Don't have in-text citations or any kind of information that you need to reference. So make sure that you keep your paragraph nice and simple so that the introduction flows smoothly and the reader knows exactly what to expect in your introduction. And the last tip that I usually suggest for students is to read out your introduction paragraph. And this goes along with all your essay paragraphs, but with your introduction, because it has a lasting impact on what the assessor thinks that the essay will be like, it's important that you read aloud your first paragraph and get a family friend or someone who's not in your profession or in your future profession to read out your essay for you. Okay, so make sure you get someone else to read it out and you read it out yourself as well and see, does this paragraph really flow? Does this introduction catch my attention? Does this introduction summarize everything I'm going to talk about in my essay? Okay, and if you can say yes to those things, then I can assure you that your introduction will be great, and you'll probably end up getting a high distinction if you follow the outline that is emphasized in your introduction. And so make sure that you follow these tips and try and read your essay before submitting it, obviously. And that's it. So I will see you in the next video, and that'll be part 2 of this series of how to write a good essay, either for your final year or for your essay assessment that you have in university. So I'll go through more information in the next video. Thank you for watching, and I hope this helps.